Hello everyone, Charcoal here, and welcome to my first proper Wings of Fire discussion video in quite a while. I ask you, what is a love triangle? In its most common form, it's when a character faces an internal conflict due to having romantic feelings for two other characters at the same time. The love interests form some sort of rivalry because of it, the character chooses one of them by the end of the story, and then the fandom does nothing but create ship art of the two love interests together. And if you know Wings of Fire, you would know it has one of these: Moonwatcher, Winter, and Qibli. This love triangle was an ongoing subplot throughout books 6 through 10, and today I'm finally going to talk about it. I'll be going over each pair and how compatible I think they actually are, then give my thoughts on the love triangle as a whole. Let's start with Moon and Winter. I will be the first to say that in years past, I used to be a big-time Winter Watcher shipper. My argument rested solely on the idea of poetic justice. Arc 2 had a huge focus on the ancient feud between the Icewings and Nightwings, so when Icewing and Nightwing ending up together just made narrative sense. And on a surface level that is true, but after revisiting this arc throughout the pandemic, I figured out I was living in total denial. I now say that when you look at these characters' personalities at the end of the arc, particularly Winter, you start to realize that Winter does not deserve to be with Moon at all, let alone deserve her more than Qibli. Let's summarize his journey here. His crush on Moon is brought up in book 6 because Moon can read minds, but as soon as Winter finds this out, his prejudice against Nightwings flares back up and he starts hating her. Even before finding out he didn't treat Moon the best, he had the usual Icewing superiority complex. He was used to being a royal in the Icewing Palace and having things handed to him. He was Queen Glacier's nephew, dammit, and he made sure everyone else at Jade Mountain knew it every chance he got. Book 7 focuses on Winter becoming slightly less of an asshole, realizing that maybe he does have an ego problem, and a temper problem, and a racism problem. He did gradually start to trust Moon again, but he separated from the main group before he could fully reconcile with them, and the book ends before they can reunite. But hey, Winter's not racist anymore. The love triangle comes up very briefly in book 8 when Winter almost dies and tries to tell the rest of the Jade Winglet to tell Moon he loves her, but he doesn't finish his sentence. When Peril goes off on her own and the story's point of view goes with her, Winter stays with his winglet until everyone reunites at the end of the book. It can be inferred that he probably told the others about what he did on his own during this gap between appearances, but we don't know for sure. Book 9 may as well not have Winter in it, but book 10 gives him a lot more to do. But it doesn't really show any actual chemistry between Winter and Moon. It's more about Qibli doubting himself and thinking Winter would be a much better match for her, despite Winter doing nothing to prove that besides pointing out Qibli's own unintentional selfishness. In fact, Winter actively disproves being a good match for Moon by abandoning his friends in the final battle to fight on the side of his abusive family, leading to them intentionally keeping details of the outcome from him after it was all over. This basically shows that Winter ultimately did not change, or if he did, it didn't stick. The Jade Winglet still sees him as an untrustworthy, prejudiced asshole. He is barely shown being genuinely nice to Moon. Sure, she could read his mind if he wasn't given Skyfire, but actions speak louder than words. And Winter's actions, both toward Moon and in general, tell me that he is not ready for a relationship, and these two do not belong together. Given the rant I just went on, you'd be right to assume Moonwatcher and Qibli are the superior pairing from this love triangle. The simple reason being that they have actual chemistry and get along with each other. Winter is only seen being an asshole to Moon, and the only times he could have been nice to her are off-screen where we don't see them happen. On the other hand, there's Qibli, who, besides the minor fallout from learning Moon has powers, is probably the most humble yet still outgoing guy you'll ever meet. And it's easy to see why when we look at how he was raised. Qibli grew up with a family who was physically and emotionally abusive and also literal violent criminals, so when he finally got out of there, that turned him into someone desperate for approval. That's why in present day, he's very social and cracks a lot of jokes. That's his method of getting people to like him so he can finally build some positive relationships in his life. Moon's book smarts and Qibli's street smarts complement each other very well. For someone as awkward and anxious as Moon, having a social butterfly like Qibli around can be beneficial to help her escape her shell and make some new friends. And similarly, Moon can act as a sort of grounding force for Qibli to stop him from getting too out of hand or doing something stupid like, summoning a storm to bring down Jade Mountain. My one complaint is that this pairing still isn't very relevant to the story. By the time book 10 came out, it had been almost 3 years since book 6, so I had forgotten all of the setup related to Qibli when I first read it, and even during the book I still didn't pick up on Qibli crushing on Moon, so him getting the girl at the end of the book instead of Winter came completely out of left field. Thinking about it, the result makes sense when you consider the night and day difference in how both of these guys treat Moon, but I feel like there wasn't enough of a reason given to believe this pairing was actually important important and necessary to the plot. But still, I can't deny that these two are very cute together. They are one of the few ships in this series that I actually like, but there's still one pair to discuss. Yeah, this one is just a meme ship. I know Tui said she wanted to write the love triangle in a way that you could see any of the three pairings working out, which could indirectly confirm that Winter and Qibli are bisexual or pansexual or what, but personally, I won't officially believe that until I see it written on page or Tui outright confirms their orientations. You can headcanon whatever you want, there is nothing wrong with characters being gay. My interpretation is that Qibli quote-unquote flirting with Winter is just playful banter because annoying Winter is one of Ghibli's favorite hobbies, and they don't actually share any romantic feelings for each other. Now, as friends, I absolutely adore them. They have a great dynamic, they are hilarious together, every line they speak to each other is gold. These two come from completely different upbringings. Winter grew up with everything being handed to him, Qibli grew up with nothing. They are perfect foils to each other, and the result is pure comedy. But I really don't think it goes any deeper than the whole best frenemies thing they've got going on. And like I said earlier, Winter should not get a partner until he takes some time to seriously work on himself. He does appear to be much nicer in book 14, but whoever that is masquerading as Winter honestly feels like a completely different character. Now that we've gone over all three pairs, what do I think of this love triangle as a whole? I don't like it. It doesn't need to be here. The whole thing could be completely removed and the story of the second arc would not be any different. Moon and Qibli are a good pair, yes, but the subplot just isn't important. Same can be said about most other ships in this series. You're basically not a Wings of Fire character if Tui isn't shipping you with someone. The setup was also pretty poorly done. Winter and Qibli start crushing on Moon almost as soon as they meet her, and Qibli in particular is very quick to forgive her once she reveals she was hiding her powers. It could have just been Moon and Qibli and I wouldn't have even made this video. Fans were going to ship Moon and Winter regardless, but turning it into an actual love triangle did spawn a lot of memes, but also seems to have spawned a lot of arguments. God knows I got pretty heated arguing in favor of Moonwatcher on Discord years ago. The love triangle is ultimately pointless and to me has kind of become a stain on the otherwise great second arc. But that's all I have for now. I'll see you all again at the end of August for the Charcoal's Den 4th anniversary video. It's not even fully written yet, and the script is currently about as long as last year's ranking list, so you already know this is going to be a big one. Thank you for visiting Charcoal's Den, and I'll see you in a few weeks' time for my biggest video ever. Special thanks to my supporters on Patreon. If you want to support the channel, you can pledge at the link in the description for perks such as your name in the credits and early access to new videos.